I have a relative, and his stepmom lived next to a guy who had 2 Cane Corso dogs. And I don't know if you've ever seen these Cane Corso dogs, but they are, they look like a big pit bull. And I don't want to be controversial here because I know this is a hot topic with people, but I am not a fan of pit bulls. I'm not really that big of a fan of dogs in general. I don't hate dogs. I don't mistreat them. My dad's got a couple old country dogs out there at his house. You pull up out there, they come running up. They're nice. They're friendly. I don't mind dogs. I'm not a big fan of indoor dogs because I just think, some people have little bitty dogs and they don't really shed, and those are cool and whatever. But I just think dogs shed a lot. And then their hair is everywhere, and then their hair gets all over your clothes. Everywhere you go, you got dog hair on you, and then you can smell the dogs, and I think it affects my breathing. I'm not into it. I feel like that's some kind of like weird, out-of-touch opinion to have these days where you don't like dogs. I feel like I've just had this conversation. But I feel like there used to be like uppity people didn't like indoor dogs, and country folks had dogs. And then somehow it's flipped. My relative's stepmom had a neighbor with a couple of Cane Corso dogs. And I've heard a few different stories. Nobody seems to get the story right. I'm going to tell you the first story I heard, because it's the most horrendous of them. And then I'll tell you the other stories after. All the results are the same in the end. My relative's stepmom went over to their house. They were friends. They were hanging out. This is graphic. And when the lady got up to leave, she gave the lady that lived in the house a hug, and those 2 dogs attacked the stepmom and killed her. They killed this lady. I was like, oh, gosh, what an awful story. And then I heard that she was supposed to be feeding the dogs. They were out of town, so she went out back to feed them, and somehow one of them got out of I don't know, I guess they both got out of the pen and attacked her and killed her. And then the dad, the stepmom's husband, shot both of the dogs and killed them. And then I heard the story. They said the owner of the dogs was on Facebook, and he was like, yeah, they were mean. I raised them to be mean. And that story was that he told the lady, never go over there when I'm not there, because those dogs will get you. And she went over there when they weren't there. I heard those 3 stories. But regardless, the end result was these 2 dogs killed this lady. That's insane. Now, I know those Cane Corsos are not pit bulls, so this is not on pit bulls. But this is why I don't like pit bulls. And this is very controversial. I know people get very upset about this subject. So I'm gonna say it in this way. And this is the way I feel, because I have friends that have pit bulls. They are very sweet dogs. I understand they are very sweet, but this is why I don't like them. They're so strong. They're incredibly strong that if they do, and I know there are a lot of other strong dogs out there, but you just hear a lot of the pit bull stories, that these dogs are so strong that if they do decide to attack you, there's like nothing you can do. You almost cannot stop these dogs. People say you can put your thumb in their butt. And I'm like, well, I don't know how that's going to work. I assume that would work, but it feels like if a pit bull was attacking someone and you go over there and you put your thumb in their butt, then they're going to start attacking you. But I've seen videos of horses kicking pit bulls and them not stopping. I've seen people trying to get away from them, And these are the stories that you hear the most attacks from. Now, I've heard a lot of arguments. A lot of arguments are pit bulls get blamed for attacks because dogs look like pit bulls and they're actually other dogs. But gosh, I mean, this dog stuff is wild. We had a couple of pit bulls get loose in our neighborhood, and we're just running around the neighborhood. And I'm like, I don't like that. They were pretty friendly. This guy doing some work next door said, he goes, because I yelled at him. I go, you can't let your dog just run around out here like this. And he goes, that's not my dog. He goes, I'm just doing work over here. That's not my dog. So, but he goes, you don't know who owns this dog? I said, no, I don't know. He goes, well, if it's still here when I'm here this afternoon, I'm going to take it because it's real sweet. And I go, well, that's your business, you know. I don't know whose dog it is, so, and I'd like it to be gone. I don't advocate for dog theft, but I do know I don't want the dog running around here. But that's a wild story. I meant to tell that last week. What a wild story, huh? Just to know someone that knows, I don't know the lady, but to know someone that knows someone that had that happen to, it's crazy. And I got a joke where I talk about he won't bite. He might lick you to death. And that's all I'm saying. That's why I get uncomfortable around dogs. And then the dogs sense the uncomfortableness, and then there's a vibe between us. But I get uncomfortable because, especially if it's your personal dog, because I've had a couple of incidents in the neighborhood where one neighbor had a big German Shepherd, and Hannah and the kids were out walking, and the German Shepherd came out in the front yard and just started barking at them. And then the owners are just like standing there. And Hannah finally goes, are you going to do something about your dog? And then they get the dog and take it. And then there was another dog that came running at us. And I really had to step up in between the dog and the family. And then the lady gets the dog, but she looks at us like we did something wrong. And that's what I don't get. I don't get this, I don't know if this is the word, lackadaisical. Is that the word? I don't get this approach to dog ownership. You know, if you own a property and you got some dogs to protect your land, I'm all about it. But if a dog is bred to be, protecting, then, keep it out of a way to, because like I had a nephew that had a dog. He may listen to the podcast, but I'm always surprised when I find out people listen to the podcast. Somebody was saying to me the other day, they go, yeah, I was listening to your podcast the other day, and I was surprised that they were listening to it. And I thought, oh gosh, what have I said? Because I be talking trash out here. I feel like I talk trash, and I admit to talking trash. And I think I've offended people before because they were like, saying something about, you talk trash? And I'm like, yeah, don't we all talk trash? I think we all talk trash a little bit, right? I'm not saying it's right and that I should be doing it, but yeah, we all talk trash a little bit. I like talking trash. But anyway, my nephew, his dog bit my sister, his aunt. And she was like, said something to him about it. And he's like, yeah, it's protecting me. And she's like, protecting you from what? I'm not attacking you right now. I'm just hanging out in the house with you. And I just think, there was a story on TikTok. I don't know if it was real, but it showed a picture of a little girl, and the little girl had scars, and the family dog bit the little girl. And the post from the lady was like, after some careful thought, we've decided to keep the dog. And I'm like, what? And I'm not advocating for killing the dog. Just because the dog had a moment and attacked your daughter, I'm not advocating for killing the dog. I'm not saying don't do it, but I'm not advocating for killing the dog. But what I am saying is you got to get rid of that dog. That dog's got to go to another family or other owners, and those owners need to know that happened. But if we had a dog in here and that dog attacked my daughter, that dog would not be around the house, because I got a little fear of dogs. I do have a little fear of dogs, and I can't imagine being bitten by a dog severely and then my family just keeping it, going, yeah, your attacker is just going to keep living with you in the house here. So wild.